from WBBZ-TV Sports. It's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to Beat the Champ as we continue for our final week here at Transit Lanes in Williamsville with Janelle Sabin and Hall of Fame bowler Sue Novoitsky. My name is Paul Peck. We're going to have some fun here today, and we're going to have some fun because we've got some fun guys that we're going to show bowling. It's our Transit Lanes Senior Showdown, but that doesn't mean we don't have some legendary guys bowling today.
No, this is going to be a great week. I mean, these guys are still competing at a high level. They still get out here and they bowl on the house shots, the sports shots, and they also have great stories to tell.
Yes, they do have great stories, and these are guys, and Gary Kenyon and John Masiello, Billy Bear and Mike Falero, that have competed on the regular Beat the Champ show, have won everything there is to win in Western New York, so they're going to be a little heated rivalry going on there, isn't there?
Yeah, and they know not to take themselves too seriously now, too. So they're promoting their league, they're promoting senior bowling, and they're showing you that, you know, age doesn't stop you in this sport.
Right. You know these guys. You know these guys can be trouble a little bit, too.
They can be, and, you know, I'm ready for anything this week. I gotta say.
If Janelle has learned nothing else on Beat the Champ, it's to be ready for anything. We're ready. Are you ready? Let's get rolling.
I'm here at Beat the Champ for our Super Seniors show, our fourth show at Transit Lanes. We're going to highlight some of our greatest, I hate to call you a senior bowler, we've been bowling together for so long, bowlers in the community, but you and I talked about some of the tournaments that I asked you about highlights. You said it was a low light, but I still thought that there were some interesting tournaments out there that we don't hear about too much. So I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Well, back in the 80s and 90s, there was the World Team Challenge, which was probably my favorite tournament to bowl, along with high rollers from the 80s and 90s, where mega buck tournaments that you had all the best amateurs in the world bowling. So it was a lot of fun, and also Beat the Champ shows from years and years ago.
So you were familiar with that too, huh?
Oh, yeah. Those were also a lot of fun.
Well, the World Team Challenge was the Baker format, and where we had some of the greatest bowlers. I mean, you can tell us who was on your team, because I know who was on your team, but let's talk about that team.
I was fortunate enough to have the greatest bowlers, Tommy Baker, Jack Jarrett, Brad Gazewski, Brian Eaton, and Mike Newman.
How's that for a lineup, right?
It was called the Dream Team by some of the Buffalo bowlers. So.
And I have to agree, that was the dream team. So just that's interesting for you to give us a little insight on those days, and I was lucky enough to be there for it, and I imagine that really was a great memory for you.
Awesome, that awesome. So we miss it, but we still got a lot of great kids around here, as you've seen on the show lately. So.
Absolutely. Well, good luck today. We look forward to watching you bowl.
Thank you, Sue.
All right. Well, something unusual. I'm here at Beat the Champ with Bill Bear, and this is your second time on TV, but your first time bowling on TV?
Yes, my first time bowling on TV.
Tell us about your first time on TV.
First time on TV, I filmed a commercial for Jimmy Schroeder's Pro Shop back in the late 70s.
So while this event is sort of like highlighting some of the bowlers that have been around a little bit longer, you actually got to work with Jim Schroeder.
Yes, I used to work at his Pro Shop, fit and drill bowling balls.
Wow, and that was probably a whole different atmosphere back then as far as drilling bowling balls, right?
Yep, the Sidewinder.
Sidewinder. There's a name from the past. Okay, well, have a good show out here today, and I hope you do well.
Thanks.
All right.
Match number one of our Transit Lanes Senior Showdown features Billy Bear taking on John Masiello, and this should be a lot of fun. And of course, John Masiello, a familiar name to anyone involved in the sport of bowling in Western New York, and also familiar to regular Beat the Champ viewers. He's been on the show 6 different times. So here we go with our Senior Showdown. First match, Masiello and Bear. Second match, Kenyon and Falero, and then we'll have a championship match, and John Masiello off to a good start with a strike in the first frame, and that gives us our first look at Billy Bear from Buffalo. Both these guys are from Buffalo. John Masiello lives in Kenmore now, but Billy Bear, 59 years old, and getting a chance to do a little bowling on TV here. And for a little more perspective and scouting reports on the, now that you are a member of the Senior League here at Transit Lanes, we welcome in PBA bowler Jack Jurek, who is also the owner of the Bowler's Choice Pro Shop here at Transit Lanes.
Actually, just a sponsor of the league.
But you are eligible eligible, are you not?
Eligible, but
You
so
and me are
far,
both eligible, Jack, so I'm not letting you off the hook on that
based
one.
on scheduling.
Oh, I see what it is, scheduling, huh?
That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
So this is a 50 and over league that the guys bowl one night a week, right? And these 4 guys were our top qualifiers.
That is correct, yes. It's actually, the league's been around a long time. It started, Dick Sifrich got this league going, I think, back many years ago.
20 years ago, to be exact.
And Gary Kenyon's since taken over the reins, and it's gone through some ups and downs. Obviously, age, the number of guys eligible and stuff, the time slot and everything has kind of played into it. But this year the league is up pretty good. They've got, I think they're up over 40 members again this year. It's a unique system they use. They do it in 8-week segments, so guys, they don't have to commit to 32 weeks. They can just bowl 1 segment, 2 segments, whatever works for them.
All right, so you get a look at Billy, who spared his first frame, and will look for a spare here in frame number 2. So it's pretty good competition, though, right? I mean,
Yeah,
these
actually,
guys are battling pretty good, aren't they?
It's a very unique league. You've got quite a few guys. I've got some older guys, some guys in their 70-ish range. There's a new guy this year, Tom LaPena, who's a former tennis player.
I know Tom, sure.
He's gotten back in the last couple of years to bowling, and he's gotten pretty serious about it, and he competes, so it's really become quite a league.
I'm glad I know that, because I'm going to go down and I want to get some tennis lessons from that man.
Tom is the guy to talk to. He's one of the all-time great tennis instructors in Western New York. John Masiello for his second frame with a nice strike there. John has actually won 5 matches on the regular Beat the Champ show that he has been on. I mentioned he's been on 6 times, 5 and 4. There you get a look. Our first look at Janelle Sabin and the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard for our Transit Lane Senior Showdown.
So John mentioned the World Team Challenge in our interview, and of course I remember attending those, and it was such a great tournament, was it not?
It was probably one of my favorite team events that they came up with many years ago. We were fortunate to obviously go with John in many of the qualifying events and national finals. The squads that we've been able to put together from Buffalo for that tournament were unbelievable. I mean, we had multiple teams, 2 or 3 different teams from the area that would qualify for national finals. The very first year, the grand finals, our team and another team from Buffalo, with Mike Falero, who will be on in the next match, they beat us in the finals. So
that's right. That was with Bobby Vari.
Yep.
Was on that team. And it comes down. You're in Reno, and the 2 teams bowling are both 2 Western New York teams.
yeah.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV. Got a good match going on here between John Masiello and Billy Bear, both guys knocking some pins down here. Want to remind everybody that this is the final weekend of qualifying for our next month, and which is essentially next week's shows down in Fredonia. So you want to get down there and try to make the show. And remember, top qualifier in the round of 24 wins a television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. And of course, once we cut down to 24, the top 9 will make the show, and the top qualifier will challenge our returning champ from last week here at Transit. That's Jason Shuby.
This left lane has definitely kind of been getting into Billy's head, I think. He's going to light a couple times, make an adjustment, get a little high this time.
Well, he's in good company because we've seen that happen all day.
Yeah, not the only one who's struggling with that. So,
Wonder how this is going to play out. I believe John and Bill live on the same street, so I wonder if there'll be anything amongst the neighbors as to the winner of this match.
someone may have to drive the next
John
month.
and Bill right here?
I believe they live on the same street.
Yeah,
But,
someone may have to do all the driving here to Transit Lanes for the next couple of weeks. There, nice one by the man they call Maz, John Masiello, with a nice strike. Got to follow up with you before we wrap this matchup on something Sue and I talked about last week when we had Jason Shuby with the 7-10 split. I asked her the question, how often is it made? And I'll ask you that question, how often does that get made at a PBA Tour level or in any level?
Not very often. I think you see with the younger kids today and the speed that they can throw their spare ball at a 7-10, I think it gets made a little bit more often than it used to, but I wouldn't even say one time a tournament, maybe.
Right.
at-
Still
at
less
most.
than, the stats
gosh.
back up, it's still less than 1%. And I think
I
you
would have to
said to
say.
me that it's only been made, what,
I
three
believe
times on the
three
PBA
times
Tour?
on television on the PBA Tour, yeah. And it's been quite a number of years.
Have you made
was-
one?
I have not. I've
No?
made one, just not on TV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
hey,
have made
still.
one?
I've made 3 over the course, but it's probably been about 20 years since I've made one. As I got older, I guess I don't throw fast enough.
See?
In the statistics, it said that the Greek church was more difficult to pick up. And I
It
find
had
that
been made statistically less on the PBA Tour than the 7 and 10, and just slightly.
I would find that really hard to believe on
I
that
know.
Because with the 3 pins in the corner, depending on whether you're left-handed or right-handed, I always went after the 3 pins in the corner, and I thought it was easy to get. In my case, it would be the 6, shooting at the 6, 9, and 10. It was always easier to get the 6 to hit off the 9 and slide into the 7, and then you're just looking for a little ricochet on the pin action. But I always thought it was pretty easy to get 4 out of the 5 for the
Right.
most part. And then there's no question I've made the Greek church way more times than I've ever made a 7-10.
Yeah, Sue was surprised about that too, but again, it was there was a statistical review.
But it's on the
done.
internet. It's got to be true, right?
That's what I said. It's got to be true. So yeah, there you go. I wanted to follow up with you because I know you'd be the expert on all of that, and and again, we.
Is that because I leave too many of them?
No. Just because you've been around bowling a lot more, you've seen it played at a very high level. So where are we at in this match, Sue?
this match was over, but we're looking at John having the ability to shoot 279 out here, which would be everything but 1 strike, which he spared in the 5th. So
All right,
great performance.
Yeah, let's see if
John really has a great.
John can,
He's got a
he
great
looks
look.
great.
Nothing
the
about
ball.
him has changed very much.
No, and I'm telling you, watching him right now, this is as good as I've seen him throwing a ball. Execution-wise,
He's innately an instinctual, smart
he's always
bowler.
been feel. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's feel-oriented. But like I said, I like his setup now is much taller. He used to be really low, and I think he's able to flow to the line much easier than he used to. He's always had the little crook elbow, getting his hand underneath on the way down. But he looks great.
6 in a row, 6 strikes in a row, looking to wrap it up with 7 in a row here on his way to a win. John will advance on and face the winner of our next match, which features Gary Kenyon and Mike Falero, a couple of legendary names here in Western New York bowling. So we'll let John take us out here and see if he can't grab another strike to end this one. And there you go,
Perfect.
7 in a row to end it as John Masiello comes up with the win over Billy Bear to advance to the finals of our Transit Lane Senior Showdown. We'll come back and talk to Billy and get you ready for match number 2 when we all return to Beat the Champ here at Transit Lanes. Final score 279 to 184 as John Masiello beats Billy Bear in the first match of our Transit Lane Senior Showdown. How is it that we're in the Senior Showdown and Masiello puts up the best score we've had here at Transit Lanes?
He's an awesome bowler.
That's part of it. You're right. You bowled pretty well yourself too. It took a little getting used to all this.
Yep, a little nervous.
Right. Well, it didn't show. You did a nice job, and now you get to figure out which one of these guys you want to cheer on to avoid the least amount of grief moving forward.
Yep.
All right. Billy Bear doing a nice job here for us. Match number 2. Gary Kenyon, Mike Falero coming up next on Beat the Champ.
I'm here on Beat the Champ for the 4th show here at Transit Lanes, the Super Senior Group. Okay, so you're the baby of this group. How did you get into this Super Senior Group?
I think I got a little lucky. We were qualifying for our Wednesday night shootout senior league, and Gary didn't get in tonight. He outbowled me by a lot, but he was waiting on his second place score that ended up getting him on the show.
Okay, well, I know a lot about your bowling career, and I know this is going to be a treat for everybody to watch because you're as good as you ever were. But give us a highlight of your career.
Well, probably the biggest highlight would have been representing the U.S. on Team USA.
What a perfect timing for that, because the Olympics are going on or have just ended as we air this. But you represented Team USA, huh?
Yes, in 1996, actually during the Atlanta Olympics. Unfortunately, I qualified third for the team, and they only took one to the. It was an actual exhibition sport that year, and they only took one player, and I didn't have anybody waiting in the wings to break anybody's knees. So.
Okay, well that's good. That's good to know. Well, I'm looking forward to watching you bowl as I always do, and good luck out there today.
Thank you.
All right. I'm here on Beat the Champ with Gary Kenyon, taking part in the Super Senior, although we have seen you in the regular show, so we know how well you can compete. But I want you to talk a little bit about your league here on Wednesdays, because it is just a great showcase of all the senior bowlers here from Western New York.
Oh, absolutely. The league got started by a man named Dick Siprich, Hall of Famer from Buffalo, back in 1998. And the league's this was his 20th year. And then he left in 2002 for Colorado, and he asked me to take over, and I've been running it since. What we do now is that we divide the league up into 5 divisions. Each division has first division has like the top 8 bowlers averages. The next 8 is in the second division, all the way down to the 5th division, which is the lowest averages. So every week we take 4 guys to match play from each division. So it doesn't matter if you're a 220 average or a 180 average, you have a chance to make the match play every week.
Right, and notice that everybody is all dressed. You get a shirt to come bowling, and it's separated also into quarters, is it not?
We have 3 11-week sessions, and in each session, we bowl on 6 different patterns. The house shot, and then 5 of the Kegel recreational patterns. The idea is that hopefully out of the 6, you can maybe match up on 2, 3, or 4, so everyone should have a chance to score well and make match play.
Right, and you don't have to commit to every one. Someone could try it out for one of the sessions to see if it worked for them, correct?
Oh, absolutely. In the fall, we have about 3 or 4 snowbirds. They come in and bowl the first session, and then they go to Florida. And so, yes, it's very flexible. We had one guy, he bowled the first 2, and then he went to Florida. Okay. And we have 2 guys in our league who are original members left, Ray Bellett and George Whittier. And I think they're trying to see who can last the longest.
Okay, well that's really, that's awesome, because I know both of them so well, and I just love them to death. So thank you for explaining that, because we really want to see some seniors get out here and make the league continue to grow, because I know it's grown. I do the shirts for you, so I know it has. And, come out here and show your skills today, but doing a great job promoting that league, Gary.
Thank you very much.
All right, good luck.
Thanks.
All right.
Match number 2 is a couple of familiar names to anybody that has followed the sport of bowling in Western New York. You saw Mike Falero on the right, and there's Gary Kenyon, and he'll start things off. And how many times have these guys been in a bowling alley and walked away with a win between the 2 of them? Thousands of times.
And they're both very competitive tournament bowlers. And Kenyon, we all know that name. Everybody knows the name Kenyon in bowling.
67 years old from Lockport. One of the all-time greats in Western New York is Gary Kenyon. We've had him 4 times on the regular Beat the Champ show. He's won 2 and lost 3, but it's always a pleasure to have one of the greats on the show. And I don't know why we can't get Falero to qualify for the show, because he deserves to be on there, but he has not yet. The 56-year-old from South Buffalo, Mike Falero. And as you would expect, these 2 incredible bowlers get started with strikes. Well, this has been fun to watch, because this is not the one sport, but one of the sports where age is irrelevant to how good you are.
So true, and we're really seeing the top echelon of who's competing today. That has stayed competitive, and this is just as good a bowling, if not better, than the actual show.
Look at Mike Falero knocking all those pins down. That's 2 strikes for him to begin with, and we go back to Gary.
One of the things that these guys have that, we've seen great bowlers, and we've seen 2-handers, and, all the new people coming into the sport show up for the regular show, and they're great, but these guys have greatness with great wisdom. They've gone through the changes of the game, and they've evolved with the game, and they don't get frazzled. You're not going to see it as emotion. They've learned how to keep it in check. So this is
the one thing I've learned from you, sitting next to you and talking about this sport for 2.5 years, is this sport can sometimes be as important as a mental. The smarts of the sport are as important as the arm swing and the legs and all that other stuff. And all of these guys have been around long enough to have they've seen every possible scenario.
Right. To get to this level, you throw a good ball. I mean, you have good rotation, you strike significantly and have learned to make your spares, you wouldn't be on this level at all. But then there's that next spot that is knowledge and comes from seeing things happen and knowing how to move, and that just makes them that much greater. And the only thing, maybe they've lost, like Jack alluded to, is a little bit, maybe a few rev rates, but what they've gained in knowledge is phenomenal.
Gary Kenyon is retired at 67 years old, his career as a network analyst for Catholic Health Systems, but really as a bowler primarily. He still bowls 3 nights a week in regular leagues, including the senior league here on Wednesdays at Transit Lanes, which is the reason why he's here, we're here. These guys bowl every Wednesday. They were the top qualifiers in sort of their roll-off that set us up for this top 4.
Right, and that league has continued to grow, so anybody who has been a pretty good bowler, 185, 190 average bowler, as they've gone up through the years, there's an opportunity at 50 and over to come compete in your level and have it not have to just be a 9 o'clock in the morning senior league, right? I mean, these guys are still bowling competitively.
Yeah.
We're going to be back with more Beat the Champ bowling action in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
And of course, returner Jason Shuby from last week's show heads down to Fredonia to take on the number 1 qualifier, and the top qualifier in the round of 24 wins television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV.
All right, we know that has its own set of challenges for the returning champion, because they're traveling again to another bowling center, another surface, different atmosphere.
A lot of wobble there, but the 9-pin will not go down.
And that's not the one we thought was standing. We thought before it was going to stand.
Yeah, but you're right. Jason Shuby bowled well, and if you remember last week, the incredible come from behind where he had the 2 open frames in 3 and 4, or 4 and 5, I believe it was, and then just had strikes the rest of the way. So, but can he carry that on a completely different surface and completely different house? So Jason Shuby will be in the first match in next week's show against the qualifier, the top qualifier, and then we'll work our way through the other 9. And it's always good to get down there. We get some new bowlers, some Southern Tier guys, and some Fredonia area guys. It's always good to get down there. We get some Hamburg guys. So we always tend to get on our trips to Fredonia and Jamestown a little bit of a different core group of bowlers, which is great. These 2 guys just keep knocking down all the pins, don't they?
Yep, and we've got a 1-pin match, so they're neck and neck.
No one's given up anything amongst these 2 guys. They probably bowled against each other 100 times in their careers.
Yeah, Mike's in pretty deep on lane 11. That lane's broken down quite a bit over the course of the day.
There you get look at Janelle and the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard telling you that this is a 1-pin match. Gary Kenyon to frame number 8. Winner to take on John Masiello for our Transit Lane Senior Showdown Championship. And knowing all these guys, those bragging rights will live forever.
Well, I haven't figured out what the award system is over there, whether they get extra bonus in their league or not, but either way, they're still going to want to win.
Oh, you bet they are.
And hopefully they're inspired. Hopefully we've inspired them to, reminded them to come bowl the show.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, like I said, we've seen Gary on the show a number of times, 4 different times. We've seen John on the show 6 times, and like I said, we got to get Mike on the show as well, too. Gary's got all those adjustments ready and done. Ooh, that's not what he wanted, an 8-10 split. We did too much talking about splits this week, right?
Well, that Yeah, and that's a game changer right there, pocket 8-10. It was a pretty solid game, but that's going to open the door for Mike to just...
Yeah, and the difference between this and what we talked about with Jason Shuby was this is late. This is a ninth frame. That's tough to overcome that. So that'll be an open in the ninth for Gary, and he knows it. He knows that's a tough break, and Mike Falero now with a chance to pounce a little bit and wrap this one up. Still in the business of bowling is Mike Falero, as he has been for most of his life.
Wow, what a great shot.
Has his wife Claire and his daughter Jacqueline cheering him on here at Transit Lanes.
So he's got to a spare here. We'll lock it up.
So that's all that Mike needs to get the win here and advance on to our championship match against John Masiello. And he's in position to do that with the spare. Thought he was going to get that 10 pin. We've had a great time here, as we always do here on Transit Road in Williamsville at Transit Lanes, and the bowling's been great. It's been super competitive. No one won more than 2 matches in a row here, which tells you how competitive our bowling was for the last 3 weeks. And you know, it's fun having nice long streaks like we've had before, but it's also good when everybody keeps winning, and you never really know how it's going to turn out.
Right, and because of that count, we're looking at a possibility of a tie.
Okay, so we said he needed a spare to clinch it, and he didn't get the spare.
That's right.
So
Gary
now
needs 3 in a row.
Gary Kenyon can come back and again with the ties, huh?
Again with the tie.
All right, so Gary Kenyon needs 3 strikes.
Correct.
And he won't get it. So it's a win for Mike Falero to advance to our championship game of the Transit Lanes Senior Showdown. We'll touch base with Gary and get you ready for our championship match when Sue and I return to Beat the Champ here at Transit Lanes. 214 to 203 is the final score as Mike Falero defeats Gary Kenyon right down to the end there. You needed a couple of more pins, including that late spare, right?
Needed to carry them 10 pins, and I just couldn't get the 10 pin out there. Came up a little light each time. I should have probably put a piece of tape in, but I didn't.
Well, there you go. See, that's the grizzled veteran that you are. You always know what you should have done, right?
Yeah,
all right, so give me a little scouting report on our championship game here between Masiello and Falero.
Well, these are 2 of the best seniors around, and they both have a long resume of great bowling, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring match for myself.
All right, there you go. One of the guys who would know gives you the preview on our next match. It's coming up. Stick around. Beat the Champ continues from Transit Lanes in Williamsville right after this. Mike Falero and John Masiello in the finals of our Transit Lanes Senior Showdown. We could have called this like the Legends series, right? Because these guys all are, but 2 of the great bowlers in Western New York history who just so happened to be qualifying over that particular age that makes them seniors, who bowl here in the Senior League at Transit Lanes. But this is not the first time nor the last time that Masiello and Falero will battle each other.
You got that right. They might do it a few hours from now when they bowl in their league.
Yeah, and they might very well do it in some tournaments and some Obenauer Masters and some other high-level stuff that goes on in Western New York. So this should be a lot of fun. This is a good sit back and watch 2 of the all-time great guys that have ever thrown a ball down a lane in Western New York battling each other out.
And you're right. That's a good point. This should just be, a lesson in fundamentals and a lesson in shot making and spare making.
There you go. So Mike Falero starts us off with a spare, and you can just see how smooth the approach is for Mike, and there's no wasted movement. And yeah, does he throw it as fast as some of the young guys? Of course not. But that, as you've clearly taught a lot of us, that's not always what the difference needs to be.
No. And you know, the game has evolved into a high rev rate game, but that doesn't mean that you can't compete when you throw it this good and you're this smart, and they're bowling against each other. So you know, this could be a match from 20 years ago, and it would look exactly the same to you.
This was probably an Oberauer Masters final or semifinal at least more than once, one time over the last 25 years. So, you know, and then John Massiello's a little bit of a different style, as you can see, and boy, I tell you what, count how many times he throws the ball that he's right there on the head pin, right in the pocket. All right there, 2 for 2. Sometimes, you know, I know I've heard this in relation to sort of watching and learning about golf, is that sometimes the average golfer is better off watching the senior guys than they are the PGA guys, because you're never going to replicate what they can do athletically and speed and head speed and swing speed and all that stuff, where these are the guys that everybody should be watching. And a little bit of a delayed fall gets Mike Falero the strike.
And honestly, it's always been that way. You know, you could say seniors or women, because women who can't overpower things end up having to be very fundamentally sound. And I think that stands for tennis, you know, sports where you can relate more to a woman's game if you're not, you know, at that super power level.
Nice. You know, I wanted to mention, I was thinking of this the other day, that, you know, we've had, sometimes this fourth show always tends to be a different approach. Sometimes we've had a lot of high school and kids on, and I've noticed that within the last month or so, the Section 6 bowling championships have gone on, and I see a lot of the names that we've had on this show, the Parker Flisses, the Tom Clankies, some, you know, some of the young ladies that we've had on the show, and that's pretty cool to see. It's cool to see, hey, I remember them when they were on our show, and you could tell they were going to be great.
And I thought it was really neat how, you know, the week that Janelle could not, the month that Janelle could not be here due to work restrictions, that it was actually correlated between a girl who's competing on the show, and you get a feel, you know, now you'll know her name, you'll know her face, and she's an up-and-comer in this area, and I thought it was nice to, you know, get them in the forefront so that you do recognize the name when you say it.
Right, yeah, so, you know, and hopefully we'll have some of them back, and maybe get a chance to get some of those Section 6 champions on the show here to be able to honor them. But we know how important bowling is in this town, and high school bowling seems to have had a really nice, I don't even want to say it's a resurgence, because I don't think it ever went away, but there just seemed to be a little more increase in the attention given high school bowling, and whether we had any little part of that by getting them some exposure, I don't know that we did, but we're happy to do it, and we have a lot of fun with it. So congratulations to all the Section 6 and New York State champion bowlers that have come from Western New York. And then, you know, they've got a little time before they are eligible for the senior showdowns.
I'm sorry, this man throws it so good that...
Well, what is it about what is it...
Well, watch his follow through, watch his follow through. It is absolutely perfect. And his hands up through the ball, nothing jerky, no elbows anywhere. And to me, this is bowling at its most beautiful, when it's just so fundamentally correct.
All right, let's give it a watch.
Just watch his follow through. You don't see a lot of them anymore.
So it's the arm,
all the way straight
arm
through.
whip that almost comes up to the top of his head.
You know, and I noticed that I was struggling a little bit in my leagues when I bowl on Mondays, and I got back down to basics and got my follow through to be straight through, and have had a lot more success. And I think I just got away from it, got a little cutting it short a little bit. John too followed through.
Right, as always, right on the head pin, right in the pocket. Thus 5 frames and 5 strikes for John Masiello. He's had 76 career 300 games.
Like I love watching sports at its, and who doesn't love watching sports at their best? But it's not just about cheering for your hometown team. Sometimes it's nice just watching, people who are great do what they're great at.
And that's the first pin that John Masiello has not knocked down.
I mean, I'll set my alarm for any time of the day or night to watch a Roger Federer match because I just think he is the epitome of a master of his craft, and he carries himself in, he's just a great sportsman. So.
Well, there you go. That's
why I got to do tennis lessons now from Tommy LaPenna.
Oh yeah. And you're absolutely right, and that's a great example in Federer of one of the great athletes of our time. No matter what sport, just carries himself the right way, does it the right way.
And the action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
I mean, I know them from their bowling, and obviously, I've known them for years, and I've bowled with them, and I won a team event in Kenmore Lanes with John, and got to see him really up close and personal as far as competitiveness goes, and as our anchor bowler, he needed all those you need to strike out something like that at the end. I mean, we needed his score, and was just amazing.
And a nice spare pickup for John Masiello here in the 7th frame.
That's a bit of an opening for Mike right there.
Yep, that's back-to-back spares for John after he had strikes through the first 5, as you can see on the scoreboard. Next month, we will kick in a week from today, next Saturday, with a new month's worth of shows from Lucky Lanes in Fredonia. Jason Shuby, our returning champion from last week's show, he'll be first up against our new set of challengers. And speaking of which, those challengers will be determined on Sunday, tomorrow. If you're watching this on the airing, it's Saturday afternoon. Qualifying and the top 24 and the final 9 will be determined tomorrow at Lucky Lanes. And don't forget, top qualifier in the round of 24 will win a television from Dirt Cheap TV, valued at $500. And always remember that it's the top 24 plus the top scoring female bowler,
right?
Unless she's already in the top 24. And again, we're going to get there soon where we get one of the ladies on the show here.
We will.
I know we are. Keep bugging you to try out. I'd be more than happy to come up with a substitute.
Wait a minute.
Not substitute for you in this chair.
I know
because you're
meant.
bowling. You subbed for me last month and did a great job. It's the least we can do.
Oh.
Either that or have Liz Johnson come back to town and register under a fake name and see if we can't get her in there.
We do have a lot of talent here for women, and I'm surprised that someone like a Julie Selk hasn't found their way to the show.
So Mike Falero rattled off 7 strikes in a row until that spare in the 9th frame. John Masiello had 5 strikes in a row, then 2 spares and a strike, and he goes here in frame 9. This is the best scoring match we've had in 4 weeks here.
I know.
And it's from these 2 grizzled veterans.
And honestly, by the time we get to this part of the day, the lanes have been pretty beat on and broken down, and sometimes the scores aren't as high because the scoring condition is not optimum, and these 2 are making them look easy.
Yeah, well, John was at 279 in the first match, and he may be in that ballpark as well again here too. 10th frame for John Masiello.
Great shot.
3 in a row.
So John strikes here. He's going to force Mike to strike out.
Okay.
So we're pretty much at a point here where Mike has to match whatever John does.
Gotcha.
He's got a 2-pin advantage. Mike does. So, you know, count is going to matter for John. He's going to want to keep his count up. If he doesn't strike on the last ball, he's going to want to get as many pins as he can.
Okay, so a strike here really puts the pressure on. Got the strike he needed.
And, you know, he didn't like that shot because the way his body language said that wasn't the shot he really wanted to throw. Where you find with these guys, they're a little bit more perfectionists than the younger guys.
Is that because they know that they
know
can't
that
overpower?
shot.
They need to be a little more technical. What a way to end it for John Masiello with 5 consecutive strikes.
Okay, so Mike needs a double.
So there you go. So just as we expected between these two great bowlers, it comes right down to the end with big scores and big results, and you can see the 267 on the board for John Masiello. So Mike Valero needs the double, as Sue said. If not, we crown John Masiello as our Transit Lanes champion.
Wow.
What else would you expect?
I expect one more.
One more, right? That's what you expect would be one more.
And then it's still not over.
Right.
But this one has to be.
Not the first time that Mike's been in a pressure situation like this.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just such a thrill for me to watch these guys 260 to 260.
I can tell you've had a lot of fun. I can tell this has been pretty special. I hope everybody at home has enjoyed it as well too. Hooked it too much, didn't he?
I'll be interested to hear his take on that. But 267 to 259.
Hook, you could just see it was hooking a little too much right to left, right at the end.
He either got the dry too fast, or I mean, that's my guess.
So Mike will finish it off here, but it's John Masiello, who is our Transit Lanes Senior Showdown champion after an epic match between these two legendary bowlers. We'll get a chance to talk to both guys and wrap up our month-long stay here in Williamsville. When Sue and I return, it's Beat the Champ at Transit Lanes. We're back right after this. An epic match between two legendary bowlers, 267 to 259, as John Masiello becomes our Transit Lane Senior Showdown champion. You said to me, for all the times that you've bowled him, you've never been able to beat him?
Not individually, no.
Should we be surprised about that?
No, John's great. I mean,
yeah, but you're pretty good too.
Yeah, but we come from an era when the bowlers were just incredible. You know, there was 20 guys that could have easily won tournaments that we've won over our lifetime. And you know, John, how could you beat 279, 267? I mean, that's unbelievable too.
Yeah, he did respond to the challenge pretty well.
Though. He beat me in Vegas once.
Oh, that's right.
See?
I did
all right.
By a lot.
Okay.
Maybe that's what happens when you get to the Senior Showdown and you have a few senior moments, right?
Senior moments.
Beat me by about 60. So.
Well, I personally feel like I was watching a Federer-Nadal tennis match going on here, because it was beautiful, and it shows that, you know, age does not matter when it comes to greatness. And I personally sat back there and just oohed and ahed the whole time. So thank you for a great show. And John, what can I say? Clutch.
Well, we really appreciate it, and I'd like to say thanks to Transit Lanes for doing it for us, and you guys for covering it, and it was a lot of fun. Michael said it was a lot of fun, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, it was a lot of fun to watch too.
It sure was. Two of the all-time great bowlers in Western New York squaring off, and we just had the pleasure of being able to see it. Sue and I will come back and wrap things up here. You're watching Beat the Champ from Transit Lanes. Well, that was a lot of fun, and I hope people at home could sense how excited you were. You were a spectator, and that was fine, because these are the kind of matches between the kind of bowlers that you, for your appreciation of sport, just want to sit back and watch.
Well, that was my goofy fan moment, but that's why I'm a bowler. I mean, these two guys out there, what you saw today was why I became a bowler, because I just think it's beautiful. So kudos to them for a great show.
Yeah, you had the second best seat in the house for this one. You had the first seat, the best seat in this house.
Definitely. I mean, like you said, those were the highest scores the whole month-long stay here at Transit.
Yep.
That was incredible.
Yep, and it was a couple of guys out of the senior league, even though that doesn't mean anything. They're great no matter what age, no matter what league. We hope you enjoyed it. We moved the whole gang down to the Southern Tee or Lucky Lanes in Fredonia starting next Saturday. We hope you're there to see it on Beat the Champ.